Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Bald Explorer stream. I haven't given you much notice about this, so if you've just joined me or are about to join me or you're watching on the rerun, people haven't yet really known that I'm going to do another one. But I thought it would be interesting to run another stream on the Bald Explorer page. Thank you very much for everybody who came along to the last one. That was very interesting and informative. And this is my penultimate day of the government-mandated lockdown thing. So I guess also it's a lovely day, and I'm frustrated that I can't actually be out filming something, which is a real shame. And so I thought, well, if I can't go out and film something, at least I can do a stream. It shows willing, and if anybody is interested in watching or listening, then of course they're very welcome. It does say the Vobes show there, and let me just change that, because what I really want is, I think, that one, and not just adjusting here, that one. There we go. So if anybody wants to give me a call on 07934746790, you'll be very welcome. We can have a chat. I wanted to kick off a conversation about the videos that I make. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I have been watching, I suppose with interest, the longer format videos and how they've been going down, but not only how they've been going down, whether they've improved the viewing figures against what I used to do was daily videos on a variety of different subjects, different strands of thought. And ultimately, one is trying, I suppose, to increase the viewers and the watching and the length of time people watch, to partly increase financial income in order to be able to reinvest in the project and keep going. I always feel very guilty. I don't know whether this is an English thing or just a Vobes thing, or just my thing. I always feel guilty if ever I talk about trying to make any profit or money from doing what I do. I don't know whether this is perceived by the audience as being a dirty word, because to me, any income is reinvested in. Obviously, you've got your expenses in order to operate anything, whatever business is. And then once you've paid all those bills, you can obviously, I say obviously, it might not be obvious. Once you've paid those bills, if there's anything left over, it may be essential that you pour money back into the business in order to continue doing the next thing. And thereon after, if all that process has gone on and there's anything left over, then, you know, that becomes a profit which you can put into your retirement fund or anything. Now, there's no chance of that happening. And where I'm trying to get to is so that instead of just having one's head above water and having enough to make the next video, is having enough to make more interesting videos that take me further afield. And so that I can bring to the audience more. For me, it's not about making the money at the end of it and having a fat profit and saying, wow, 20 years of doing the Vogue show was, or the Bald Explorer was well worth doing because look how many millions I've got in the bank, or look that I managed to get a fiver. The journey, it's the process, the doing of it, the going to the places, the exploring the places, the making of the videos, the finding out things that I didn't know before, the being in the presence of ancient buildings up and down the country. That to me is... Yes, Andy, it is live. That to me is where the beauty and the profit is. The profit is in being able to do it and then being able to share that with the audience. That to me is so. But I still feel guilty when you talk about the money side of things. But ultimately, we all know that we all need money in order to do anything. So one probably shouldn't feel guilty about it. So I have been looking at the analytics a bit. I try not to overdo this and overanalyze and stress about it, but I'm just trying to work out what is the best way for me to make the videos that will enable me to do the sort of work that I feel I want to do and what I feel the audience will like. So that's really what I'm talking about today. Now, I know that intrinsically, if that's the right word to use, and emotionally, the long format videos is what I really enjoy putting together. There is a lot more satisfaction in ending up with a 25-minute piece that takes you on a story and a journey in which there are many facets to it, rather than a shorter 10-minute something or other, which is on one subject. I like variety. For me, variety is the spice of life. It is what keeps people interested, and which is why I've kept my niche so wide and varied, rather than, let's say, just looking at, I don't know, one aspect of heritage, maybe country houses for the sake of argument, and one probably could make thousands of videos on one such topic as country houses and look at all elements from how a ballroom has been decorated to the servants' living standards in large country houses. And all of that would be interesting, but I know that I would just get very bored after about the 10th video on that. And I am sure the audience would also get very bored too. And maybe they wouldn't, but I know I would, and then I wouldn't do a good job. And where I feel I do a good job is where I'm actually in awe of what it is I'm doing. So that's where I am with that thought, and that's why I like the longer format. Also, it does give you time off, and I don't mean that I'm a shirker for work, but it gives you time off to think for one thing, to stand back and look at what you're doing and refresh your batteries. That's not to say that you're not necessarily not reading or researching or thinking about other things, but the daily videos, there was no real ability to think about it. It was like, right, okay, what's the next video? What's the next video? Got to get out and make a video. Okay, what's the next video? And whilst they have been great for audience building, for one's own peace of mind, I suppose, they were panic. And then there's the satisfaction as well of looking at it and going, yeah, it became what YouTube like. And that is content, which is such a horrible word to describe something that, in theory, ought to be, or I prefer to describe as a creative endeavour, when it's just content, and it becomes a factory of an assembly line of churning out stuff. However, what seems to be the thing is that the daily videos are the ones that build the audience, and the daily videos are the ones that seem to generate more views, and consequently bring in more finances to finance the next project. So I'm in it, and the thing about being in a situation that I'm in, where you are unable to go out and you're in this government mandate lockdown thing, and so it means that you do spend a bit more time navel gazing than you probably would do ordinarily, and that's, what I've been doing is trying to work out what is the right thing to do, where should I go, what should I do. And when you don't have the time to think, you just get on and do it. So on the one hand, it's usually better not to have the time to do the navel gazing, but sometimes a little bit of navel gazing and trying to work out where you should be going and what direction you should be doing is important. And is it worth it all? You know, when you if you cycle on a long distance track and you cycle and cycle and cycle all the time you're cycling, or you run a marathon all the time you're running, you know you've just got to keep running. That's all you've got to think about. And so you run or cycle. But when you stop or are forced to stop, and you might go, oh, actually, I'm tired, I'm hungry. Do I really have to keep running? Maybe it would be nice to get to the finish line, but maybe I could just stop. I could do something else. I could walk. I could go down that journey, not that way. And I feel that's the thing with this forced not being able to go out and not being able to get on with the job that I do and love. It makes me think, the inertia now to get going after tomorrow, the inertia to get going again is going to be quite great. It's like, am I going to do the right thing? Whereas when you don't have that navel gazing thing, you just get on with it, and it doesn't matter, because you just go, well, if you didn't like this, the next one perhaps you will like. So yeah, there we are. I'm going to have a quick look at the comments. I don't know whether anyone's actually been listening to any of the nonsense I've been gabbling. I'm sure this must be, I guess most producers, most artists, most creators, most people who do things, most probably businessmen as well, businessmen and businesswomen, of course, business people, maybe one should say. I'm sure people in any endeavour do have those moments where they go, hang on a minute, is this, where should I, what should I, is this, and all of that. Hello, so let's say a few hellos to a few people if you have tuned in, and thank you very much for joining me, keeping me company during this enforced lockdown. Hello to the lovely Julia, to the Green Man, good morning to you, Flappy Goose, Audrey Forbes, Sherry Allen from Massachusetts, hello, all the way across the water, Audrey Forbes, who says, I got absolutely drenched on my walk yesterday, every piece of clothing. Oh, lucky you to be able to go out for a walk. Andy English, Mayed, good morning, Sir Vobes. Very British. We don't like to talk about money, says Audrey Forbes. It's very true, isn't it? I suppose, for me, the mere hint that I feel guilty if I have to talk about whether what I do is making any form of income over and above what would be enough to keep the thing going. And I'm not, but it would be nice to have that income. And so one of the reasons for saying that is having come back from Suffolk and having a very brief look at it, or having come back from Wiltshire, where the lovely Julia and I went for a week, and having a little look, and you realise that, and I, of course, I've just realised this. It's like every time one goes on a trip and you come back and you think there's so much more to see. Yes, there's tons. You could say, well, just look in your own backyard. There's tons to see in Sussex, and I have been. And I'm not interested in going overseas. I'm not interested in other countries. I'm very fascinated by England. There's so much to see. I don't know enough about England. And that's why I've got my quest for England, and I want to learn more about it. And there's certain things that I understand in England that when you go to places, it makes more sense. So knowing, for example, something about the coaching era and toll houses, for example, and turnpike roads and things like that. So that when you go into, I don't know, somewhere like Yorkshire or Monmouthshire, which is in Wales, of course. But when you go into different counties, Lincolnshire, for example, and you see a house and you think, oh, I wonder if that was a toll house. The way that the door is quite abrupt to the road, and then you find it. So and or you look at a church and there's aspects of the church that you know, your general knowledge tells you, it becomes more interesting, and you know then the sort of questions to ask or to ponder on. And I equate this with going to a museum. If you go to a museum and you walk around the museum and it shows you all sorts of different things from a different area, if you don't really know the area or you don't know much about history, and you're looking at, as I have in the past, when I've gone to a museum like the British Museum, and you go, is it the British Museum or one of the museums, Natural History Museum or whatever, and you're looking at a display of something, and there's myriads of these, let's say, flint axes and arrowheads. And you, after a while, they're just, you know, at first you go, oh, this is Stone Age man and his arrowhead. That's amazing. And then you keep looking, and then let's see, more of that here, yeah, more of that. And in the end, they just become bits of flint, the magic of what they are. And then you look at something else and you go, oh, yes, we used to use this to do this. Oh, okay. And if you don't really know anything about it, they're just objects. But if you go in with a smattering of knowledge about something, about how these, for example, these arrowheads were taken out of the ground, the tunnels or the pits that were dug, and the way that, and the difference between the flints that were on the top of the surface and the flints that were further down, and how they were traded, and the fact that they can be found all over the country, and that you're in a museum in, I don't know, in the Midlands, for example, and they've got flint arrows there, and you think, oh, I wonder if they were traded and have come originally from Sisbury or from other towns that have flints. Like, I'm still trying to remember the name of the very famous flint mines in East Anglia, which always elude me at the moment, or have been eluding me, which is very unfortunate. But when you know a smattering of something, when you see those objects, they become much more interesting. And I suppose my point is that knowing a little bit about England and a bit about its history, when you go to places, you can see things with a clearer eye and go, oh, yes. It's like, you know, looking at windmills and water mills. And you know, for example, in Norfolk, there are windmills that were used for grinding corn, and there were other windmills which were for opening and closing sluice gates to manage water, and so on. And so it's not just a building with the sail on it. It has a bit more, and because you know a smattering about it, it becomes much more interesting, and your knowledge is easier to, you know what I'm talking about, it's easier to gain more knowledge. Let's have a look at some of the more comments. Another thing I do, as you probably are aware, is I overthink everything, and that doesn't help either. Hello to Alan Sandell, very nice to see you. Todd Desborough, hello Mr. Vobes, good morning. 6:30 in the morning, my corner of the world, hello to you. Good day from Michael Thornley, hello to you. Roland Cardian, is that how you pronounce it? Continue the way you do, greetings from France. Thank you, Roland. It's nice to be encouraged to carry on doing what you do. But sometimes, you know, when you don't quite know what what you're going to do, that can be as frustrating, as nice as it is. It can also be frustrating because you're thinking, yeah, but what is it I do that people like, and what is it that I do that people like that I like? Oh, it's very difficult. Audrey Forbes says, watched a 20-second vid today of a cat biting its owner. Biting its owner's head, 282,000 views. Yeah, that can happen. Ford Wayne says, hello, Richard, you're a very creative filmmaker. Thank you very much. But a cat biting its owner's head gets more views than any of my creativeness. English Andy says, Richard, we would be lost without you. Just do what works for you. Don't put pressure on yourself. I do try to take that on board as much as possible, that ultimately people come to you because of who you are and what you do. And if you try to please the audience, it changes everything. You please the audience, I think, by being who you are. and that is true. And so I suppose I'm just trying to, in many ways, I'm just trying to justify that what I do is okay, if that makes. Longer format, Matt says Michael Thornley is working well. Flappy, thank you for that. Flappy Goose says, let yourself be flexible, do a mix depending on what you're up to. I guess, and that's the key. I think that is the key for me. I think there are people like me, and I know Sean James Cameron, who we often say, I don't know if he's watching, is similar to me, that sometimes if you've come from a professional background, either as an entertainer or as a program maker or a filmmaker, or you've come from a profession that had guidelines, had rules and regulations, ways of doing things, sometimes whilst that can bring with you perhaps a better eye for photography, possibly, a better eye for style, maybe, a better eye for storytelling, maybe. I'm not saying it always does, but sometimes what that doesn't bring, what's missing, is what people who have no training, who have no background professionally in it, is a sense of, we don't really care. That carefree, I'm just going to shoot something and stick it up, and if people watch it, they watch it, and if they don't, they don't. And somehow, for me, who's come from a background where you do have some level of training, experience with corporate clients, experience with television people, experience in what, in inverted commas, is the right way of doing things, where you ought to get permission to film stuff, where you would ordinarily get model releases or ask people permission to do stuff, that can hamper you because other people, and I remember watching somebody who had filmed in a shop with a GoPro or something, and it was in their video, and I said to this person, I said, I love the fact that you've got that freedom just to walk in a shop and video yourself, whereas I would feel, having come from a professional stance point, that I would have to go and ask the shopkeeper, is it all right if I film in here? And their stock response would probably be, what's it for? What are you going to use the material for? Because obviously they wouldn't perhaps want something that is going to reflect on them badly, that they wouldn't want their competition to see things, or their customers to see things. There may be a protocol. If you're going to film in Sainsbury's or Tesco's, there may be things that you have to sign. There may be, of course, health and safety issues, and there may be insurance and public liability issues. And as a professional, you would embrace all of that and go through all the tricky process. But when, somebody just walks in and does it and walks out again on a discreet phone, nobody gives a monkeys. And Sainsbury's and Tesco's don't go pursuing them and saying, hey, just a minute, you filmed in our shop. And you put that on YouTube. We want you to either take that down, or we want to have a cut of your profit, or we want our logo put up, or we're gonna whatever. I don't know. That doesn't happen. But as a professional, you've got all this sort of things you ought to be doing that the other person doesn't, but the other person's video has been enhanced by that, and it's very frustrating because you're fighting. You're fighting this ongoing argument. Just go in there and film it. Nobody cares. And it's the same thing about going somewhere. And I remember once making a video, and I was on the Underground on a station, and I walked in with this camera with a couple of people, a camera, a microphone on a stick, a boom, and we were making it was for years and years ago. It was for a pilot not a pilot. It was a proposal video. A video proposed an idea I came up for a potential series. It never happened, and we walked in. They said, "Sorry, mate, you can't film in here. Have you got permission?" And of course, because we looked like a television company, we had a biggish camera. And this was really before mobile phones had cameras and things in. This was a long time ago. But it was like, no, we have a policy. You've got to go to head office. You've got to get permission and blah, blah, blah. But if somebody's on the station platform with their boy and girlfriend and one's taking a video of the others at the thing, nobody comes up and stops to say, oh, sorry, mate, you can't film on here. You need to get permission or anything. And but that's been burnt into me now that you have to get permission. And so it's sort of, in some ways, that holds me back. Lots of comments coming in. Let's go back and read some of these. Michael Thorney says, I like how the fellow viewers make arrangements for Richards to stay in your van. We need a lot more of that to allow Richard to get out and about. That's great stuff. Perhaps you should get Julia to bite your head. Are you suggesting that Julia is a cat? Michael White's just removed that comment. Richard, you're our conductor. The people will listen. Thank you, Simon. Sherry Allen says, I like your personality, Richard, so anything you do is entertaining and interesting. That's very kind. By the way, I'm not trying to get compliments, so that's not the purpose of today's discussion. I'm just trying to thrash out what I should do. I appreciate the comments, and it's very nice. I was only talking about this to somebody the other day. It's like there are some professions, are there not, in which you get complimented frequently, and being an entertainer is one of those in which, if you go onto the stage, you gauge how well you've done by the audience clapping or laughing at your jokes. If you work in a factory producing rivets, you just don't get people coming up to you saying, oh, those rivets you did yesterday, oh, they were the best rivets you've ever done. I love those rivets. It was riveting watching you make those rivets. I've never been more riveted. I was absolutely glued to the spot. I could not move. It was as if someone had hammered my head flat and I could not budge looking at those amazing rivets that you've made. My goodness. And nobody says that to most people's jobs. Most people don't get complimented on the work they do. And yet we all need compliments. We all need to be told that we're all right, that everything's okay. We haven't made a mess up. That's very important. And of course, YouTube is for entertainers who are used to it, who are used to audiences clapping rather. The comments and feedback, of course, is effectively the claps. So it is nice, but I'm also aware that I'm not here to, pick up. I'm not fishing for compliments, as nice as they are. I'm just trying to get off my mind what is, it's nice to be. Put it this way: it's nice to vocalize what you've got banging away inside your head when you are in an imprisoned situation. And I can imagine how terrible this must have been for many people, vast numbers of people during the last lockdown situation that we've had, and the potential lockdown in which people have been on their own and not been able to talk to anybody face to face or vocalize stuff, and maybe not have the ability to open up. And I've always been somebody who enjoys talking. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention all that. Starsby says, afternoon, keep doing what you do. Rotate the formats and live shows. Fab. It's great that you can just pick up a camera and make it look easy when it isn't. I was talking to somebody earlier talking about reversing Arctic lorries, and he was saying, he can do this, but other people can't. And it isn't until you've done it for, it becomes part of your job or your life, and you can reverse this thing into the tightest of holes. And then other people can't do that. And it just, everything, we all do things that we make look easy. Everybody has, I'm sure everybody has something that they do that somebody, whether that's riding a horse, juggling balls, picking up a camera. And we're all, I guess, at some stage, consciously or unconsciously, learning something that at some point in the future will look like it's easy. I think. Susan Lucas says, I started following you because you have a very professional and easy delivery of your quest on visiting towns of historic interest. My phone is making a noise here. I can't. If it'd be lovely if somebody wants to ring in, because I can't actually read texts. Oh, here we go. It is. I'd never tried it actually. That's the honest truth. Somebody. Oh, I've just lost the page. My name is Alan. I was wondering if you're going to do any more exploring of Devil's Dyke. That is a good question. I don't know what more. You see, the thing about me is I'm very reluctant to go back to places. How do I get back out of this? I'm not very good on phones. Technology. I don't want to agree to anything. It's best if people ring in or comment in the comment box. Yeah, as far as Devil's Dyke, I'm very reluctant. Oh, here we go. How do I answer that? That's we do have a call. Let's find out who that is.
Pay-as-you-go top-up service. This call is free. Get up to 10% back on all your top-ups with O2 Rewards. Text REWARD to 50202 to...
Yeah, thanks. I don't know. I obviously hit the wrong button there. Whoever that was, can you... Hang on, we just need to reset the phone. Try that. Oh, it's a WhatsApp. Okay, it's a WhatsApp. I beg your pardon. Hello.
Hello, it's Rupert here from Hong Kong.
Hello, Rupert from Hong Kong. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm going to have to turn you off on my TV because it's...
Yeah, you get the feedback. Yeah, sorry about that. And the delay is very off-putting.
No, I've turned the volume down now. I just wanted to call in because it's the first time you've actually been live while I've been awake, because normally it's about 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
That's what I call in.
No, how lovely is that? And it's lovely to hear your voice. And this, of course, this isn't like my normal Vobes show in which I'm talking about more... I don't know, sort of nonsense. Although this might well be nonsense.
I found your channel because I've been researching, looking for a place to retire in Shropshire or perhaps Herefordshire. And I saw you wandering around on the Welsh borders, and it was fantastic. It was really good, and I've been a sort of addict ever since, to the extent I can on this side of the world.
Yes.
Sent in a few videos myself. You've probably seen the paragliding one, and
yeah. I remember them well, and have enjoyed them. And it's interesting to see other cultures and other ways of life. That's one of the great things of sharing the videos on the Vogue show, is that whilst there's a lot of English stuff or British stuff, it's lovely to see other countries, because often we only see those, unless you're following people on YouTube, you only see them in television stuff. So it's nice to see them coming in from people who enjoy the show.
Well, eventually, I suppose I'm going to come back to the UK. I was brought up in Staffordshire on a farm, actually, on a dairy farm. I know you don't like cows, but
no, I didn't. See, this is a fallacy. I like cows. I just don't want them squashing me. So I'm wary of walking through a field when they're charging at me. But I do, as animals, I do like them.
Yeah. No, I just I planned to come back because I sent a video in doing the coast-to-coast hike and the Offers Dyke, and I was supposed to have done last year the Pennine Way, and because of COVID, all the restrictions, I've been stuck here really, and I was just sort of watching you being, the ridiculousness of you being stuck in your house because you came across someone. It's crazy. I mean, here in Hong Kong, one of the reasons I could probably fly to the UK, but then I've got to spend 3 weeks in a hotel at several £100 a night for 3 weeks.
I don't know how anyone could do that. Yeah, I mean, 10 days. I mean, to be fair, the first couple of days, I mean, they backdated this 10-day thing from the day it happened. So it happened on the Monday. The Tuesday, I was out still filming and didn't know anything about it. The Wednesday I was out filming, and it was only on the way back I was being pinged, and I thought, I don't know what this is about. So I ignored it, because I get a lot of spam, as you can probably imagine. Thursday I'm sitting there editing the stuff, and then eventually I'm thinking, oh, I suppose I better answer what this is and find out. And then they say, oh yeah, you've got to self-quarantine yourself, but dated from Monday. So, oh, okay, so I'm actually in day 4 of this, so that's okay. And also, I wasn't going to go out anyway because I was on a full day's edit. Friday, I was on a full day's edit as well, so it didn't make much difference to me. But it was only really from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I've had 4 days in which I felt okay, I can't even nip to Morrison's, or I can't just go down the park or to the seafront or just have a quick stroll round the downs. I can't do any of these things purely on my own. Although I have sat on my doorstep and chatted to people, because I can sit on my doorstep and people are allowed to walk past the house. So I've actually had a few visitors, not in the house, but, I've had engagement with people, which has been totally legal and all of that. But how people, as you say, for 3 weeks, it's suicidal.
Well, they say for the first week, you decide to read all the classics and, get through Ulysses and things like that. And on the second week, you watch Netflix and just watch Breaking Bad endlessly. And on the third week, you do a full Keith Moon and throw the TV out the window. And there's no logic. There's no logic to 3 weeks. It seems ridiculous when you've whether you decide to get vaccinated or not. I mean, I had COVID right at the very beginning in January 2020, and in fact most people out here did, and I thought it was just a cough and a flu, and I got over it. And then I thought, I might be able to travel if I get the jabs, and they still didn't allow us to travel. So I'd had the 2 Pfizer jabs that you have out here, I don't know whether I ride around the world. I spend years on a motorcycle with a tent riding around the world. So I've been to most countries on the planet, and a lot of places I'm not allowed in unless I've had a jab, yellow fever or whatever. But I just feel that it's the government have imposed these regulations, and they're very happy to introduce them, but they're never going to take them away, and you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck with these. You're going to be stuck with these regulations, and the government will be able to control you. And just like you are, because I thought in the UK you would be. I thought I read in the online that all the restrictions had been lifted. So I was very surprised to hear that you had been, for want of a better word, imprisoned for 10 days for doing nothing. It seems crazy to me.
Well, I
know I have to be very careful what I say online. I don't want to get thrown off for talking about these sensitive things, but I just feel nobody's talking about it, and no one's sort of standing up against this infringement on liberty. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. There's no logic in it.
I think, and I'm putting myself out on a limb here, but I think more people are talking about it and are aware of it and slowly building up, but they're just not being vocal. And I think more people are waiting for something or someone, a messiah or something, or a party or some to get behind, and that hasn't happened as yet. I can't back that up with any evidence of that, but I think that there are some people who are quite happy to talk to pollsters and say, oh yes, I'm in favour of all this, because I think the way the questions have been lauded, and it's no skin off your nose if you just say no, I agree with everything and I'll keep quiet. But I think behind that, people are slowly going, this doesn't seem right. And I don't think it is right. So I just because people aren't talking about it, I think people are aware. But at the same time,
so do people have to wear masks in the UK?
Not at the moment. We got rid of that fairly recently. people still do. People are still cycling with masks on or sitting in their cars with the windows up with masks on, which is, you know, and the more the information comes out about how ineffective masks are, still people are going, well, just in case, you know. But the good news, if you can call it good news, is that every day now we are getting the calendar is leaking. We're hearing about, I think somebody gave me the I heard on a news thing, 75,000 deaths have happened during the lockdown that were nothing to do with lockdown, which is far in excess of the actual people who died of COVID died. So more people, and that was predicted, and now, of course, that is the results is coming out that more people have actually died, and this is because people didn't go to the hospitals or weren't advised to go to the hospitals because either they had a lump or they were having a second part of an operation, or that they had a hernia and it wasn't seen to, and they basically died quietly in inverted commas. And it's only now these details are coming out, and I'm glad, and they should be publicised, so that lockdowns is never ever used. I mean, it's never been used as a treatment for a pandemic, and we've had pandemics. We've never done that before, and yet globally, you know, apart from in a few places, that had been the policy, and I just hope that people can be big enough to realise that when a mistake has been made, that they can go, well, okay, we all panicked. It was a mistake. We must never do that again.
I suppose if you were allowed out, you wouldn't have any diesel for your van.
That is the conundrum at the moment. That even, what would I be doing? Would I be sitting here moaning that I can't go anywhere because there's no diesel, so there's no videos today. I'm doing a bit of navel gazing. What should I do? I can't go anywhere because I've got this lovely van. I've decked it out, and I'm just camping in it at the back of my house for the sake of. But you're right. I mean, that is the ridiculous situation. And because I've not been out, I've actually not personally witnessed what the queues are like in the area. You know, it's all very well seeing what mainstream media pump out, but, you know, unless you're actually in the car driving around and being aware of what life is really like, you don't get a sense of it or talk to people.
Well, it's very difficult to know what's really going on by checking, you know, by reading or watching mainstream media.
Absolutely.
It doesn't seem to bear any resemblance to reality, and a lot of the time. And and the press are just looking for good stories all the time, so things are blown out of proportion, I suppose.
And that's why lockdowns are so effective, because it's making you rely on news that either comes into your internet bubble or through mainstream media, and you don't really get an idea of actually, you know, from the normal people that you would interact with on a basis that you may not even know by name, but you might have a chat in the shop with and go, oh, hello, how are you? Oh, have you heard? Oh, I hadn't heard that. Whereas all that, you know, that sort of stuff disappears.
Well, I'm enjoying. I'll just you know, let someone else get a chance to call in, but I just want to say I'm enjoying the nature and heritage, and it's good to see. I particularly liked your walk around the border of Sussex, because when I was a kid, my grandmother lived in Felpham, and she used to drive us to Worthing in her Triumph Herald, and we used to sit on the roof of it back in the 60s days. I'm about the same age as you. And she did the whole thing in first gear, I remember as well, which was quite entertaining for everybody else.
Oh my God! From where? Where did you start in first?
From Felpham. She used to live in Felpham.
Yeah.
In fact, you wandered around the the graveyard or the churchyard of the. Oh, I think is it St. Nicholas? I can't remember what the church is, but her house used to back onto that graveyard. So I actually saw her old house.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant!
And but she used to go shopping in Worthing and drive her Triumph Herald.
In first gear from Felpham to Worthing.
Well, that's because she was getting on a bit.
Yeah, she must have burnt out the
about changing gear.
burnt out the gearbox.
But we used to sit on the roof of it.
That's well, I see, because you're going at like 2 miles an hour.
One of those big sunroofs on the top.
Oh right.
So yeah, I enjoyed looking around, looking from here in Hong Kong, looking at Sussex, and then I think a couple of years ago I did the Southdown Way, so I've recognised a few of your walks which cross over the downs. It's pretty nice up there. But anyway, Richard, thanks for letting me call in.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for calling in. It's nice to actually hear your voice and have a conversation rather than just a brief email exchange and that sort of thing.
Yeah, ping pong on emails.
Yeah, exactly.
All right then.
You take care. Cheerio. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. There we go. That was Rupert Utley down in Hong Kong calling in. So I love the nature of these sort of shows because you do have conversations with people across the world, which is absolutely well, it's enchanting, isn't it, as well as being remarkable. Lots of comments coming in. Thank you very much. It is funny how no matter how much I try to steer the conversation away from things like the pandemic, we inevitably fall back onto it because it has been such a huge major. It has been a major news story and influence on all of our lives. And I know probably a lot of people are very bored of it and want to not think of it. But think in the future, 10, 20 years from now, if we're still around, and beyond, what an important period of time that we are living through. We can go back and think about 1066 and the Battle of Hastings. We can think of the English Civil War and various points in history. We all know where we were during 9/11, and that was a sort of a very short moment. But this is bigger than all of that. That although we have just managed to deal with it in one way or another, it is now part of our heritage. However we've coped with it, whatever comes out, whatever the news stories are, it's all part of our heritage, and it's an incredibly important point of history. And I think that although a lot of people are talking about it, a lot of people are sharing it, and in the future historians will be looking back and possibly at some point somebody, you never know, somebody doing a thesis somewhere has upped, if YouTube haven't deleted this stream, may well be going, oh, there was this bald bloke and he was walking about the countryside, but every now and again even he would be talking about this the heritage of, or the history of what's going on as things unfold. So it is I think it's important to have these conversations, to face up to them, but of course they can be incredibly boring. Davros says, where was there a Battle of Hastings? Well, I think it's not disputed there was a battle, but whether it's Hastings or not, I don't think it was even in Hastings anyway. So Hastings is a bit of a, it was the nearest to Hastings. I mean, I think it was great that they happened to decide to go at a place called Battle. Here's a place, look, it's called Battle. It's almost as if somebody knew. Well, let's go there then, cause a bit of a rumpus. Harold is waiting. Oh, great. Oh, and he's got his ophthalmic surgeon with him in case an arrow goes in his eye. Well, it's got to go in his eye. We've got the women doing the Bayeux tapestry, and they've inadvertently stuck an arrow in his eye. So somebody, if you get the chance, stick an arrow in Harold's eye, will you? I'm very good at eyes. Okay. Yeah. So, anyway, let's go back and see some of the other comments. Started as navel gazing, and I don't know where we're going with this, but hey-ho. J.A. Larking says, come out with me sometime on a mudlark. You may enjoy this. Have a look at what I do and make a decision. J.A. Larking, email me, richard@vobes.com, and tell me where you are, and let's do it. I'm up for doing some different things. That sounds absolutely lovely. The Fell Timber says, Shropshire, try Ludlow. I did a video walk in Ludlow. It's a lovely place. I'd like to go back and find out. It's like so many places. I make a video of somewhere or in somewhere, and it's it's such a scraping the surface. It's not even sometimes it's not even scraping the surface. Sometimes I don't know too much about a place or anything about the place. Mostly that's the situation. Mostly I know nothing about it, and you go in and you go, look at those fantastic timber frame buildings and look at that wonderful stone hall, and look at that beautiful Victorian building. And that Georgian, this, that, and the other, and one's just in thrall of it, but knows nothing about it. And then some wise person will say, "Oh, Richard, you missed this, and Richard, you missed that, and Richard, you didn't mention this," and you go, "Yes, that's true. I didn't. You're quite right. Well observed. I didn't mention any of those things. What do you want? A little prize, a little sticker? Yes, of course I didn't mention this. I'm not making the definitive guide to that town. I'm just walking through from this point to that point over a 10-minute period. And this is what I saw." And some people get so upset as, "Oh, Richard, you walked straight past it. There was a plaque on the wall." And well, I may have walked past it, but actually I was looking at that building ahead of me and also trying to talk and hold a camera and blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to make excuses, but yes, you're right. I missed it. So what? I can go back, can't I? Yeah, but I did do anyway, sorry, that was a funny little rant there. I did go to Ludlow with the lovely Harriet, and I've been to Ludlow for I've never been in Ludlow Castle, I have to say. I wouldn't mind having a look round there. The trouble, you see, sometimes I don't go to a lot of these places that have lots of public in, so places that you pay to go in with all the public. I often rarely go in any of those sort of places. Partly because I'm a skinflint, but also secondly, there's lots of people about. And what is nice is if you can get somebody from the castle to say, look, come and do a video, because we know that it will help publicise the video a bit. And if we get one family in who's watched your video, that's obviously a benefit to us. And I'll take you round and we can film bits, and you can have a bit more time to film bits, and I can take you beyond the rope off areas, and that to me is a little bit more interesting, and I can ask questions as opposed to wandering around and being jostled by the public trying to film stuff in places where you've paid your £10 or whatever, and you're trying to sort of read the brochure and make much sense of it whilst you're there, and that's very difficult, I think, and then make something coherent, and also that's what anybody else who does these sort of videos is doing, is that they'll just go in there and film, shove a bit of music, and so I don't bother with that unless I could really get somebody to tell me something about it. That said, sometimes I do. So I've contradicted myself. I am a man of contradictions. Todd Desborough says, some complaints can be strange. I remember a punk rock band I played a couple of gigs with, and the fans hurled empty beer cans up onto the stage. It's the punk way. They don't applaud or cheer. Oh, as long as you know that, as long as you know that's the sign of appreciation, then it's okay, isn't it? Flappy Goose says house prices are very decent on the Welsh border. Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm not quite sure about what I'm going to do in terms of moving and doing something new. The trouble with me is I don't know whether this is most people who just think, oh, I could do this and I could do that and I could do the other. Crailford says we need to take our sovereign rights back. The deep state government has tried to take them, and lots of people have complied with them. The day we stand up together is the day that we stand up forever. Well, I think, wasn't Brexit part of that process? Deep state government has taken a lot of them. The government has certainly taken away the rights. I don't know that they had the right to take them away in the first place. Who gave them the rights to take them away? That's what I would be interested to know. Ricky D says, he's talking to Todd, sorry. Davros says Alex Belfield. Oh, yes, this name came up the other day. I don't really know who Alex Belfield and who his best friend is. So I'm afraid I don't know what that means. Trevor Dennis says, Richard, you're going to do any battlefield walks in Sussex after you've been removed from solitary confinement. Do you know, I've got a friend called Julian who works for the Battlefield Trust, and we've done a few of those. He's an expert on battlefields, and he will sit down and argue about why the Battle of Hastings was fought where historians traditionally say it was fought, and why it isn't fought where the new concept or wave or idea about where it is fought, which is near Crowhurst in East Sussex. I don't know either way to make a point. I mean, I believe that Julian probably knows because he's looked at battlefields. And we did have a plan before COVID to do more battlefields. And it was great that I was going to go walking with him because, A, he's very eloquent, he's very entertaining, he's very funny, but he's very knowledgeable and he knows exactly where to go, and he does walks on this. And I am hoping that we can still do that at some point. But this COVID thing it just sort of set us back by 2 years. The things that I wanted to do 2 years ago, just not being able to do. And going back to what I was talking about at the very beginning of this stream, was trying to find ways, how can I... that my biggest thing is to try and find ways to make what I do earn enough so that I can invest in doing much more stuff. So I'm always intrigued when I see people who live in their van, for example, and they travel around wherever they travel. And I never quite know how they're making their money to be able to continue what they do. Have they just got money in the bank? Have they done a job and do that? Are they making money off YouTube as they go? Because how does that work? Because I don't seem to have worked that bit out. Are there loads of people who support them, that help them? Do they have, maybe they don't have mortgages or any other commitments and things that they do? Or are they freaks of life that don't need money and can live off fresh air? I mean, I don't know. But I know that I would like to, and an idea I had the other day when I was in Suffolk was thinking, to go and explore a county, it would be lovely to go there for a month, for 30 days. And in 30 days, you could pick out a whole host of different things that you wanted to look at. So you think, well, if there is any battlefields here, is there any English Civil War sites that are worth visiting? What about just the villages in their own right, and how the farming communities came together, and are there any villages that have disappeared? What about iconic castles and windmills and things like that? How about looking at rivers and how they've brought populations to and from, and that side of the story? And even in a month of going to one county and driving about and watching and looking and trying to learn about it, you'd still only scratch the surface. To learn about the market towns and why this is here and why that is there. I mean, there's just so much. It's so fascinating and so interesting. But to finance that, how do you do it? I mean, you know, in the old days, you would pitch the idea to a television company or as a book that you were writing, and you'd get commission and the money would come forward and you would go and do it. And that's, I don't know how you would do that now. I mean, people say, well, you could crowdfund it, I suppose. And that's true. But at the moment, you could do all of that. And you could then find that there's a pandemic that's interrupted the plans, or the government's decided that you've all got to lock yourself down, or that suddenly you're out there filming something and you've met somebody and they've tested positive on a PCR. I mean, we're living in such ridiculously uncertain times now that you can, through no fault of your own, end up 10 days in isolation, and that this isn't right. It's just not right. And then you've got people set against each other, whether you've had the vax or not had the vax, or you're not coming in here if you're not vaccinated, and we've got these vaccine. So I'm talking about the bloody pandemic thing again. But these things are impacting everybody's lives, and it's a very tricky thing. But I would love to go away for a month and just concentrate on something. But as I say, I like the variety. So 30 days away somewhere, building up the videos, come back for a couple of weeks to edit and to recharge your batteries and think about, and then go away for another month somewhere else. Or I had this idea, it would be great fun to buy a canal boat for a year, 365 days a year on a canal boat, and make a series about that, what your adventures are, not just going around it, maybe something more to it than just being on a canal boat, or so that the series has a concept and a reason for people to watch. At the moment, I feel I don't really have, I've got this quest for England, but it's not really defined enough. It's not really, and I'm finding that difficult to do because there's no budget. Even the Sussex border walk, you've still got to put diesel in your car, and you're thinking, well, I still got to do this, and I've got this, and I'm waiting for some money to come to do that. You can't, it just seems to me very difficult. And it may be that I'm approaching this completely wrong from, as I said earlier on, from this professional hindrance of how you should do things and how things should be done. And I just feel that all I'm doing is have a scattergun of videos, and I'm trying to be coherent, but I feel there isn't any coherence. I feel that if a producer was to pull me in, if YouTube had a manager and said, look, Richard, your channel is just all over the place. This is, there's no one to sit down with you and guide you and say, look, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Because you're having to do everything from driving to the venue to uploading it once it's edited. You're doing the whole works. And so instead of being able to be focused on a number of things that you're really good at, that you're having to do all these other things, as well as answer comments and all of this, which I think it takes away your uniqueness in a way, or your speciality. And I know that I could do so much more and so much and have something much better if I didn't. Again, it's that concept of, if I had the money, I could have a cameraman and a sound man with me when you go. It would change the dynamic, of course, but you wouldn't have to think about the filming. And I love the filming, and I love setting up the cameras. But if I'm going to be in it and then I'm presenting it, then I feel that's where I should really focus on getting my presentation and my knowledge of the thing and the thing I'm talking about, and experience, and putting more fun and laughter and stuff, and not continually have to be at the end, that the audience is at the end of my arm, is always just there, unless I can set up a tripod somewhere, and always trying to look for somewhere quiet and discreet to be able to do a piece to camera, so that the other people around me don't make a noise or put me off or make me feel an idiot. And yet, if you had a cameraman, the freedom and the change would be great, but you've got to pay them. So you can't. Lots and lots of comments that I'm obviously missing here. 2 local petrol stations have fuel again. Says Audrey, the media is steadily ramping up the hate and lots of people can't see it. No panic for those pushing the plan, and the plan is to get everyone used to having a jab over and over again. Yeah, that does seem to be the situation. The government will never lock up the British people again. We can never tolerate these rules again. Well, let's hope you're right. Lynette Coates, good morning, Richard. She says, we enjoyed your narrowboating vlogs. Any more lined up? Julia, any more in the pipeline? I would love to. As I was saying, there's so many projects that I would love to do. What I would love is to have a team. But that's the thing, it's paying people, because it would just be so much, it would be so much more fun. You're not on your own. You're not constantly thinking, oh, what am I going to do today? You have a very small, tight-knit team, a fun team, and they all, all in the video and out of the video. Even the cameraman becomes a character in the video. I'm sort of holding it together as the board explorer, but I don't want to hog it all. But how do you get to that point? How do you, with a television program that you're selling, you could have a proposal like that and know that, okay, it's going to cost you this much, but we know that we can sell it to these outlets and we're going to get the money back. And so then it's a safe bet. But with YouTube, you just don't know. The return is so much lower than anything else I've ever experienced that you can spend... I remember the Wiltshire video, the very first one we put together where we drove to Wiltshire with lovely Julia fairly recently. And after about 48 hours of that had gone out, which was the initial sort of view, I looked at it and it said the revenue that Amazon that YouTube would give you, I think it worked out it was 80p from the adverts after about 1,000 people had looked at it, or 2,000, whatever it was. 80p was the revenue. You thought, you can't fill up the van, let alone go there, let alone pay for anybody else. Or if I had to pay the lovely Julia to go there, pay the accommodation, and then, you know, get access to all it, and the food and everything else. 80p. And so you realise that actually YouTube, it is a mug's game. It is a mug's game. How do you afford it? Why? But there's something that drives me that says, I've got to do this. Ricky D says, happy to call in, especially on van life YouTube topic, but it might end up in an inane waffle. Our conversation in person have ended up in lights. Please ring in. Andy Connell says, most full-time YouTubers I subscribe to says their income is generated through YouTube adverts on their channel. It's not much a number of subscribers, but the number of views. Yes, that I agree with that. Rupert Utley says, this is your YouTube motorcycle adventure by a Dutch... Oh, sorry, there is a YouTube motorcycle by a Dutch girl called Nora Lee. Her channel is called Itchy Boots. She publishes a 20-minute video almost every day and has about 500,000 views in each time. Yeah, she's a Dutch girl, not an old balding bloke. I'm sure she's very lovely, and she's doing something very adventurous. I mean, me wandering around footpaths of Sussex is hardly a passion stirrer. Trev's Travels by Narrowboat says, I'm at Penkridge inside the boat, sheltering from the rain. I imagine that make an interesting video. Colin Clark, come and do a video on the ore gunpowder mills in Faversham. That sounds like fun. We have a caller. Let's find out who it is. Hello. Welcome to the stream.
Hello, Richard. This is Ricky.
Hello.
How are you, young man?
I'm all right. How are you, Ricky?
Not too bad at all. Not too shabby.
This is Ricky from Coastergate.
Yes, I was just about to say, I can't see your coaster on display. I hope you're using them.
I have got some lovely coasters that one of my wonderful viewers sent in to me.
I think it was Angela, wasn't it?
It was Angela, and I have a feeling they're in the van. They're in the van, ready for, and of course, typical me, I haven't used them. I'm just checking that they're in the van. I haven't placed them here.
I was gonna get one with my face made up and send it in to you, but Angela has beaten me to it on the coaster front, which is great.
I think that would have been hilarious with your lovely, handsome face.
Yeah. I think you couldn't have waited to put a cup on it myself.
No, that's true. The cup would have been permanently glued to the bottom of it.
It's an interesting conversation that you're having about how to make money via the methods that you're currently doing, and there seems to be, YouTube seems to be saturated with these van life videos, and they have these wonderful drone shots coming in and out of and everything that, but some of the content is just so dull.
But why do people watch?
I'm sorry to put that out there to people who do it, but
people watch it. This is. I would totally agree with you. I watch a smattering of stuff, and I think to myself, there's no thought, there's no logic. Some of the shots are just not very interesting. But it seems that seems to be unimportant. The values that I have seem to be unimportant to the audience that watch those type of videos. And I'm not trying to say my videos are any better, because they're not, but there's something that people are buying into or appreciate that they do that I am not doing sufficiently, and I don't know what it is.
It's an unknown quantity, isn't it? I was watching something the other day with, I don't know what it was about. I just clicked on it, and it was just two people driving around, and they were just in their van. And it was just driving around in their van. They had multiple cameras set up, one out the back, one out the front, and then one on the pair of them. And they were just driving around, and it's had remarkable amount of views. And I'm thinking, how have you got so many subscribers if that's all you're doing? It makes little sense. But obviously, as you say, people do buy into this thing. I think the one thing that you have is personality, which you bring into your videos. That works extremely well for you. And I don't know why your videos aren't generating, well, they obviously are, but they don't generate as much interest as other people who are just driving around. I know you don't watch television. I appreciate that. I don't know whether any other viewers out there have seen a small camper van program called, I can't remember the name of it. It's with Paul Merton and his wife Suki Webster, and they're driving around in this huge motorhome visiting all these places, but you never really got to see that much of the places that they were visiting. It was all just kind of them in the van and pre-planned excursions.
It's
and
a television
like
it's a television program, so it's being filmed by a crew.
Yeah, they've obviously pitched an idea of these two, because I believe she's a comedian as well,
right?
If I'm right, and they've just pitched this idea to them. And whoever they've pitched it to have gone, yeah, we'll throw some money at that. And well, I didn't like it personally myself. That's my own personal opinion. I don't know whether anybody else out there on the show has watched it and they thought it was great. I just thought it was really kind of, a bit disappointing.
I mean, the thing about that for me is the advantage. I mean, there's many advantages they have. Paul Merton is a known quantity for one thing, so people will their ears will prick up, as it were, when they hear, oh, that sounds interesting. So they may watch if they're already a fan. But put that aside. It's that business of having not to have to faff with the camera. Now, I would if I would go two ways in my life if I had the choice. One, I would just be the cameraman and film somebody else. So if I was filming your life in your camper van, it would be fun because I would just concentrate on the filming and get a lot of enjoyment about getting all the different shots, candid shots and this, that and the other. The other way would be that I would be the star of the thing or in the thing or part of a, twosome or threesome or whatever it is, and not have to worry at all about the camera work. And let somebody else do all of that and just concentrate on the performance levels. That would be my thing. But the disadvantage, most YouTubers have is that they're trying to do both. And that's where I hate seeing myself at the end of my hand holding the camera, and you've just got a bit of head and shoulders. And of course, you've got a wide angle lens, which then makes your head, particularly my head being bald, in certain shots, as I get towards the edge of frame, my head extrudes because of the distortion of the lens. And it has to be a wide angle lens, otherwise you can't get in. And
you can't fit anything else in.
And I hate that. And I went to mime school many years ago, and I like to see shots where you see more of a person because you can express yourself physically much more than just head and shoulders and facial expressions. And I love that's why occasionally I do the tripod shops where I can, but it's a hassle. Then you've got to carry a tripod. It's just you, and you can't do it in a busy street, and someone might walk off with your camera, or they just look at you as if you're a bit mad filming yourself. And whereas if you've got a crew, even if it's just a cameraman with a microphone on the top of the camera, and it's just someone else taking that burden away from you, it makes the thing so much easier, and you can be more, because it's like when we were filming in your camper van, that coaster scene, we had a chat about it.
Was that made up, Paul? I don't know whether it was made up or not. I couldn't really tell.
I don't know that it was made up, but we had a chat that we were going to film in your van.
Yes.
And then you did this wretched thing with worrying about your sodding coaster. I don't know what was the matter with you. I've never known anyone be so anal about a table. I mean, you got the thing off. All you had to do was sand it down.
I know it took me ages to get that mark out. It was absolutely disgraceful.
But that's, you see, this is where like having a conversation with you or anyone is, you're so free to do things.
Yes.
And that's why I love audio, because you haven't got to faff about with cameras and go, oh, I need to get a cutaway of this and that needs to, because the audience won't see this from that angle. So I need to, and so when you're filming something and it's just you doing it, we're trying to perform or have a conversation or engage, and at the same time you're thinking, oh, you've just mentioned those cows out the window there that the camera here can't see, so I better take a picture of that, so because the audience will be going, what cows? And they automatically will be thinking that, and I'll know, all right, I've got to take a cutaway of that. And oh, now you've just talked about your shoelaces. We need to get cut down to your shoelaces.
Yes, exactly. And we've had further conversations since about stuff, haven't we? About what we wanted to try and achieve, and it was just getting to the realms of you would need like 5 or 6 cameras set up, wouldn't you, in order to try and achieve some of these things. So it's very difficult as a solo person as yourself to try and achieve what you want without the funding already in place. It is very, very difficult. I mean, some of the conversations we've had that they've just turned into ridiculousness, haven't they, about what we would like to do and what you would like to do, etc., etc. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's the only other thing that you could possibly try. I don't know whether it's available, is national lottery funding.
Well, I have tried in the past a bit of national lottery funding, but I only won a tenner, and I ended up
or a free lucky dip,
free lucky dip. It didn't go very far.
That's right.
It's like, those numbers came up. I think it is also a bit of a lottery to try and apply for the lottery funding, because unless I was nearly said something which would offend people, but unless you're I have to be careful because this is public. But unless you're from a certain diversity or have a certain health issue or have a certain racial thing, in other words, if you're a white middle class bloke, you haven't got a chance. And that seems,
that's how it works, is it?
I can pretty much guarantee. I mean, I remember when I had a mime. This is going back a long time, and I was trying to apply to Southern Arts for a grant to take a mime show that they had seen, and we'd put it on, and they had seen it, and they liked it, and they said, "Oh, that's very good." And I went back to them and said, "Well, is there any chance you could do us some funding?" And they said, "No." They said it's not, it's not, it doesn't fit our category of funding because it's too mainstream. Too many people would go and see it. We want people to go and find, it's got to be very obscure that nobody actually is interested in it, and then we'll fund it for you. And I said, well, in that case, could you just give us a little paragraph that we can quote on all our publicity that basically Southern Arts like the show, so that when we go to theatres and say we want a 30-70 split, that they will go, oh, Southern Arts reckons it's all right. We might, it might help influence them to open up the doors so that we're still taking a risk and everything, but it's less of a risk. And Southern Arts said, no, we won't even give you a paragraph to say we like your show unless we only do that if we fund you. And I thought, this is a big stitch up, and I just turned my back on all these fundings.
It does sound like a bit of a stitch up, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know what the answer is out there, but there seems to be. It was like one of the comments earlier. You've got 280,000 views of a cat biting somebody's head. Yeah, it's ridiculous, really. At the end of the day, I don't know what the answer is. I think you've just got to keep plodding along nicely, taking yourself into the countryside and doing all these things, because then you don't have to ask permission to film in the countryside.
Well, that is exactly how the
farmer comes out with his shotgun and says, "Oh, I don't like you filming round here," and off you trot. But,
exactly. That's how the Bald Explorer started, because I wanted to do something, and I wanted to do more comedy and things like that. But I realised all of that costs money. Where can you go? What set can you have? What environment can you be in where it's not going to cost you anything? And I said, oh yeah, public footpath. And so that's where it sort of all came from. But I mean, if I had my way, I would say to you, Ricky, I want you to take a month off. I'll pay you whatever you earn. pencil it off. You earn exactly the same, if not a bit more, and we'll go off and have an adventure and have a crew who would film us. And you'd end up with this wonderful series, hopefully wonderful series,
Well, of course it would be, naturally.
of
Most definitely.
probably arguments. They've filmed all the candid arguments. We're not doing that. I refuse to do that. Don't be silly. All of that, and we'd have a hilarious.
I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
Yes. Next week on the
and I think that then something like that, it might over time get legs, but you just need someone to say, look, I've got 20 grand, I'll throw at this, or whatever it would cost, to take a punt. But nobody's going to do that. So, all this potential whatever never really gets off.
YouTube is the way forward.
Yeah. So
would you ever consider going back onto mainstream telly, or all those days gone for you now?
I guess it would.
If somebody came up to you tomorrow and said, "Here's a big wad of whatever you need and on all this, and we'd like you to do what you're doing, but on a larger, on a better format or whatever you would like to call it," would you take on that opportunity?
The money wouldn't be the thing that would swing me at all, because I'm used to not having any money. So that some
no,
money,
as in the end product. If the end product,
yes, if you had
these glorious drone shots of you, I don't know, tripping over a style or something like that, and doing the comedy elements that you would like to do,
disappearing down a manhole or something.
Yeah, there's something.
This Georgian building,
something quite normal. Yeah.
And then suddenly, you disappear down into a sewer.
I think we had this conversation the other day about, what was it, you saying something about you being with Windmill Bob and Harry Hill slipping down the chute into the, and we came up with this rather remarkable scene of what could happen, and then we both realised that no, that would never happen. Let's just go back to square one.
Absolutely. Mainstream media, it depends so much on who you would be working with and how much control. Not that I'm a control freak. It's just what I would be looking for is the lack of interference from people who think they know what they're doing. And my discovery was that mostly people in television haven't a clue what they're doing. And I was really surprised when I did the Snug and Cozy series, how few people actually knew anything about entertainment and videoing and stuff. I mean, the cameramen knew their business. The technicians were brilliant. Yeah. The technicians and all of those people were brilliant. But it was the producers and the creative, the people who had huge egos and were attached to these things. And indeed, it was all about making money. And if it wasn't making... Yeah,
I was just about to say, it's more of a business rather than for people's viewing entertainment.
But I think my politics would never get onto television anyway. And, if you've got common sense and you try and talk reasonably and you're open to other ideas, I don't think mainstream media want that.
Well, neither of us have got any common sense anyway, so best stick to what we know.
Speak yourself, mate.
Well, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Ricky. Yeah, I'll let you get on.
Wonderful stuff, and we'll crack on with another video at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. We've got our camp out to do.
We have, most definitely. Look forward to that.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, Ricky. Bye.
Take care. Enjoy your day.
Yeah,
bye.
Will do. Bye. There we go. That is Ricky from Coastergate. That is his name of his company, by the way. If ever he works, you work for him, or he works for you, however it works. If ever you're a client of his, you automatically get a special coaster with his face on it. It's his very coveted thing, apparently. Nigel Sadler is there, but yes, he's talking to Robert, and he's just reminding him that I abandoned Patreon about 3 years ago as they were taking too much commission. The thing about Patreon is, the thing for me is, if you, because somebody was saying, you should promote your Patreon a bit more. Patreon as opposed to patron, just to clear that up. The thing about that is as it was the case, and it may have changed, that Patreon would take a commission for having a website, effectively, that you put yourself on to say, please will you give me some money if you like what I do. And then they process it through PayPal, who take a commission. So if they're both taking 4% of whatever it is somebody gives to you, then that's actually taken 8% of what was potentially given to you. And I thought, I don't really need somebody else, a middleman, to take 4% when PayPal are going to take their 4% or whatever it is. So it would just be easier if people just donated, if they wish to, whatever they like, to support the channel through PayPal Direct. It also means that I think they have more control on the money that they come out, because there's only one company, and it is actually the company, well, it's a bank, an online bank, and they can deal straight with. Somebody said to me the other day, dear Richard, very officially, he said, dear sir, or dear Richard, or dear whatever, he said, please will you stop my monthly subscription to the Bald Explorer, thinking that it was worded as if it was going to a third party rather than actually to me. And I had to email them back and said, look, I can't access your bank account. When you set up your patronage through PayPal, it's you talking to the bank, instructing the bank to pay the Bald Explorer whatever it is you wanted to play. I can't go in and cancel it. I can refund the money and say I don't want your money, but I can't cancel it. It is absolutely because it's their dealings with their bank. Now I think that's better for the person who wants to donate, so that they have absolute transparency of how their money and where their money's going. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just the receiver of the money, which is, that part is to do with me. And then that helps me make the videos. Lots of interesting comments. I've got 20p. Any good, says Michael White. That's fantastic. Julia says, Richard, can you link your donation page here? I can, if people are interested. Hang on, I'll have to go to the Bald. Basically, baldexplorer.com if you want to donate to me. I'm just trying to find the page here, ladies and gentlemen. Where is that going? Yeah, that's going. Okay. So, so basically it is just the website, and on the website, top left-hand corner, you'll see different ways you can do a one-off donation. You can make monthly payments and all of that. Lynette Coates says, Richard, what I like about your walks and vlogs is you do point out lots of historical information along the route, which normally a person would not know this info when walking along a footpath. And that's true to a degree. I don't always know where I'm going. I don't always know everything. And actually, I know very little, really. And it's that whole old adage that the more you know, the more you realise you know not very much. Actually, having a cat is a good idea, says Rupert Utley. Probably not for me, I wouldn't have thought, although it may get more views. Somebody said, get a dog, and if you were walking your lovely dog, that would be great. You'd get more people. But actually, the liability of having a dog with you when you're trying to film and you've got a dog, it's on a lead, it's yapping at the sheep, or it's suddenly off the lead chasing a sheep, or you need to feed it and you're trying to be discreet in the van and it's yapping away, it would just be a nightmare. And I wouldn't want to be responsible for it. So that's that. Geezer80, would you do more videos with Glastonbury Gabriel in the future? For reasons which I don't fully understand, Glastonbury Gabriel has decided that he doesn't want to be involved with the Bald Explorer. Many people, not many, several people come and go and support what I do. Maybe I think they find my politics not to theirs, or don't understand that we can have differences of opinion. I happened to mention in one video that I wasn't convinced that climate change was a thing. And whilst I'm open to the idea that climate change might be a thing, I personally don't believe that it is. That's, I'm not going out onto the streets. I'm not trying to change people's opinion. I just personally am not convinced for the reasons that I have, and I'm happy to discuss those. But I mentioned that in a video, and somebody emailed me and said, well, I can't possibly be your friend or support anything you do if you don't believe that, which I thought was incredibly narrow-minded, that somebody who had been very supportive and had paid for a National Trust membership had written loads of lovely comments, but just found this one thing about me and thought, oh, all of a sudden I'm the devil incarnate because I don't have the same belief system as they did. Now, I don't really care what people believe in. I have my own beliefs. They may be in stark contrast with a lot of people, and I'm sorry about that, but I find that I can't help what I believe. We all believe certain things. I have reservations about certain things. I'm not going to swallow certain things. I might be open to listen to the arguments about these things, but until I've been swayed otherwise, there's something in my head that says, yeah, that's interesting, but I still believe this, or I'm on the line on this, or I've changed my mind over a number of things over the years, of course. I'm not so rigid that I never change my mind or that I never listen to the other view, but there are certain things which I think, yeah, okay, that's an old argument. I still don't believe in it. You can tell me that till I'm blue in the face. I still don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I may be wrong. I may be completely and utterly wrong. I'm totally open to that. But I did find it strange that you can have a view which it's not a view that's affecting how you perform, how you make videos or anything like that. It's just, at the back of my head, yeah, I'm not really convinced that this climate emergency is quite as an emergency as perhaps Insulate Britain or Extinction Rebellion seem to think it is. I think there are other important things that we can be getting on with. I'm not out there with a placard saying climate change isn't the thing. I'm not beating that bush, but I just haven't had that. But this person could not accept it at all, and I found that weird. And so some people don't like my politics, I suppose, and I think Glastonbury is one of them. Hello, welcome to the stream. You may need to turn the television off or the viewing thing off in order. Oh, they've hung up. If that was you and you're watching, when you ring in, there will be a delay. So you will find that you'll still hear me nattering, and then I'll answer the phone on the screen. But actually, we've already engaged. And so please do ring again if you wish to. 0793 4746 790. I'm going to finish the stream fairly soon. It's lunchtime over here. I don't want this to drag on. But I'm open to a conversation before we go. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hello. So, sorry, I missed a digit on your number. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No worries. Can you tell me who you are?
Terry Bantam from Southwater, West Sussex.
Hello, Terry. How are you? I should recognise your voice by now.
Yeah, it's not. It's quite interesting when you listen back to your own voice.
Yes.
Never quite sounds like the way you think you're projecting your voice. You're very good. You're very good at projecting your voice in front of a screen or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
it's very clear. It's very clear and lucid.
Thank you very much. I've been doing it for a while, and you sort of get used to it. But you're quite right. Most people, when they hear themselves for the first time, think that that's not them, because the way we hear is very different to the way we would hear on a recording.
Yeah, you're very experienced in that. Yeah, I was just thinking, I just been listening because I tuned in or channeled in a bit late.
No, that's okay.
I caught up on your conversation about freedom of speech, and accepting or not accepting other people's opinions about things in life. But I mean, surely we live in a democratic society, or we used to at least. We should appreciate other people's points of view, and we shouldn't be too, I don't know whether the right expression is woke, But yeah, we
Well,
have to
I would absolutely agree with you, and I like having a conversation where people don't agree wholeheartedly with me, because it's nice to find out why, and it's possible that might change my mind. But it does. You're quite right. People seem to be more frightened to talk about certain things for fear that they will be very closed off to them.
Yeah, and I think an example of that is the BBC, although I don't want to hit them, because I think basically they do offer some quite good programs for a relatively low price. We don't have to listen to all the adverts, but that's another matter, really.
Well,
I know you're not particularly keen on the BBC, maybe, but
you see, this is the thing at the moment. There's this whole theory of not theory, this movement of defund or get rid of the BBC license fee, and I think that's probably a right thing to be thinking of, because nobody should be taxed to watch television when the choices are now so wide. But having said that, I do think that the BBC or a public broadcast. Do you need to get that phone, by the way?
No, I'm trying to turn it off. That's a landline. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, that's all right. I think that in principle, what the BBC are, it is a good thing to have a public broadcast. What is it? A public
service.
Thank you. Yeah,
service.
I forgot, because the service bit has been lacking for a long time. But I think that's a very important and very laudable thing. And I think when the BBC was set up, and what they have done pretty much up until the last 10, 15 years ago has been admirable, and some of the programmes are exemplary and what have you. But I just feel in the last 10 to 15 years that the bias now in the BBC has not just been in commentary, but has sifted into news and into the television programmes that they make, so that you end up with stalwart programmes like Doctor Who becoming incredibly woke and of its time, and also going back and saying that things that people like me were brought up on, like Fawlty Towers, and
Dad's Army,
and Dad's Army, are all terrible examples of how dreadfully racist or disturbing that they are. And I think that this philosophy that we have at the moment with the BBC looking at diversity in every direction except thought is wrong. And so I don't want to pay for that, so I've got rid of my television license, and I find the internet is full of wonderful gems of goodness and badness that I can use my own brain to work out whether I agree with or disagree with whatever the content is about. So my view on the BBC is that in principle, I think it's good to have something like that. I think it's far too big. It's got too big for its boots. It thinks it knows better than us, and I think that's dangerous. And it's dictating how we should think, and so I think it's got to go.
Yeah, I would accord with that view. But I think often these things, they stem from the top, don't they? There's the people they appoint, the governors, the CEOs, and all the other Tom Cobblers and all, and they set the policy. And then what they do is they appoint people, sometimes quite radical in their thinking, and they want to change the, they forget the public service broadcasting corporation.
I mean, if they want to have the views they have, I've got no problem with them having their views if they are independently funded, and they're asking if you want to watch this program, then you can or not. But I don't want to be taxed. I don't want to be funded out of my hardworking YouTube channel.
I agree, because if you want to watch a Sky Sport or other sort of add-ons, you have to pay money up front, don't you? Otherwise, you don't get to view them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's a huge, huge shame, because a public service broadcaster has so much that it could do. It could I mean, in my view, it could have scouts, if you like, who are scanning people on YouTube and people who are trying and thinking, oh, that's an interesting show. They need to be invested in, and we could develop that and help people. And I think that's a role that they could do, to take people who have some merit in whatever diverse thoughts that they have, in all thoughts, not limited to the thought of the BBC, and promote obscure things rather than continually look for mainstream things, because they're funded. If we're funded by tax, if it has to be that way, then it should represent everybody and not just this small elite. And it doesn't. And they have no way are they going to go back and put what the magic of the 70s and 80s was
into a biased situation. You've got to. I know they're supposed to be neutral in their non-biased in their news programs and documentaries and Newsnight and the rest, but unfortunately, it doesn't come over that way, does it? Sometimes.
No. It's a huge shame, really. But we are where we are with that, so we can't.
Yes.
We can moan about it. But the best thing that people can do is to, like all things, we have the power. We may not think we've got the power, and we can either pay our TV licenses or not.
Yeah, I will say that in the past, not recently, I got rid of my TV, and I then cancelled my license for 6 months. And quite frankly, I was going through quite a difficult time in my life personally, and I didn't miss it because it gave me quiet time to reflect on things and the way my life was going.
I think also there is a danger with anything, even with social media, the internet and YouTube and mainstream media, is that we as a society are tending to give up our time to things that do the thinking for us, and that we don't spend enough time doing other things rather than watching screens. I think that, here's me, here's me now on a screen that people are watching. At least people can interact with it. So there's a little bit of thought process going on, which I think is great. But I think that there is too much. I've found myself, I have a habit, and I don't like the habit, and I want to break the habit. I have a habit of going to my phone, putting YouTube on, finding some, YouTube stuff while I'm cooking in the kitchen, or doing simple little things around the house. And I think, I feel a bit on my own, so I'm going to have this company of something. I'm not really that interested in this person in his van driving over the Outer Hebrides, but I'll watch a little bit of it just to keep me company, as if I'm frightened of my own thoughts. And actually, really and truly, I want to spend more time in silence and think things as I'm cutting up the onions and the mushrooms and making some food that I enjoy now, turning the bloody thing off.
Yes, yeah. I know you've had a self-isolation imposed upon you because of certain things such as vaccinations and the like. I won't go, because you've taken a decision, and you don't conform to the government's way of thinking, and you're being penalised. But on the other hand, the upside is you've had time, probably more time to stay at your house and think about things, directions and the like.
Absolutely. And I do think that I do think, or at least I try to think, that every adversity, there's a positive side to it.
Oh, yes.
And often you may not see what that positive side is at that moment that it happens. But you're quite right. I've spent a lot of time navel gazing, but I've also been reading. Somebody gave me a book at the beginning of this in a bag of food, and I've been reading that, a book that I would never have picked up, which is just a fiction book, and it's an enjoyable story. So I've taken a bit of time out, and of course I've done a couple of these now, Bald Explorer things, where I've been just chatting to some lovely people like you, which ordinarily would have been in the Vobes show, which is a slightly different format, and so I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, I've got a book lined up for you. Unfortunately, because of the postponement, for reasons beyond your own control on the Ditchling Walk, I can't really come because I've got quite a firm commitment there. But maybe I'll see. I have a book which I'll probably hand over to you next time.
Oh, brilliant.
After there.
Well, I've got a horrible feeling that the Ditchling Walk may be cancelled. I don't want to cancel it because somebody was telling me the forecast for the weekend is going to be dire. So it may well get postponed again, which is really irritating because last weekend it was reasonable. But there you go. What can you do?
Yeah. On a final note, I'll say, possibly your self-isolation has an upside because you've been searching around for diesel, probably.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it would have made an interesting video, I suppose, driving about looking for diesel. That would have ended up being, but no, probably as boring as anything.
I went down to my local filling station. It's been empty or dry since last Sunday morning.
My goodness.
And apparently I was told there are Facebook groups now that somebody goes in when they see the tanker leave, and they spread the word. So that's social media for you.
Yeah, that is the bad side of social media.
Then the queues start.
Yeah.
I hate queues anyway. I expect you want your onions or whatever.
Yes, no, that's right. Absolutely. That is the worst side of social media. But I can understand why people do it, but it's a shame that they do. Thank you so much, Terry.
I think it's good you have a phone line because rather than you just talking into an empty. Well, I know you get the comments, but if you get somebody talking on the line, I suppose it's a bit more interesting.
Far more interesting for me if people ring in and talk to me than me having to get. People must be sick and tired of my voice. I'm just the conduit. That's how I think. I'm just like the anchor man. Somebody's there, and then people come and we have a lovely conversation. I love doing this sort of thing, but it's much better when people ring in and you can talk to them about a subject because I do like. Anybody who knows me knows I like to have a good natter.
Yeah, I do listen to LBC sometimes. I expect you're aware of that station.
My mum used to listen to LBC religiously, and I did used to listen to bits of it, but I find that their politics is on the opposite side of mine now, and I'm afraid I've gravitated to talk radio.
Yeah, because LBC filter through researchers or whatever they call them. They obviously have a conversation with the incoming calls to make sure they're suitable. They're not going to swear and all the rest of it.
Oh, yes.
But they probably filter out the views as well.
Yes. I mean, all radio stations will filter out because you've got to make sure people on air are going to be sound. They have the Ofcom rules to abide by, so they don't want anyone to risk taking them off air. But on here, anybody can ring and say anything, and then it's just down to me whether I'm quick enough to ditch a call who are insane. But mostly I don't have that, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Anyway, good day to you.
Yeah. Take care, Terry. Nice to talk to you. Bye bye. There we go. That was Terry Banton in Southwater, which is just 20 miles up the road from me. Although not that I could go and visit him because there's still no diesel. We'll round up, shall we? Thank you very much for participating, and it's been lovely. If you've enjoyed this and would like me to do more, do let me know. Email me is the best way, to be honest. I suppose comments not in the live stream, but in the comment box underneath afterwards. That's a good way so that I can get a vague idea if it's something. I suppose the fact that people have been with me for how long have we been on somewhere? Oh, an hour, nearly 2 hours. Nearly 2 hours. That's amazing, isn't it? Lynette Coates. And by the way, I'm reading the comments. If you've made a comment, try to read as many as I can. I can't possibly read them all, and I'm not vetting them. It's just the live chat just goes up and up and up. So I tend to be near the most recent comments that I see. So, and sometimes, as you know, I stream back, and it's not a deliberate attempt to not see the comments. So I just sort of point that out. I just go back a little bit. We are at the end, says Julian. I'm going to cock up your name if I try to pronounce it. Pafitis, is it Pafitis? And I apologise if I've got that wrong. We're at the end of the current interglacial period. So yes, one is due. Nigel Sadler says, over time, the average temperature of the planet is much higher than today, and there should be no ice caps. Daily Walker says, and the sun will go red giant and burn everything in its solar system. BBC is too political, says Waltham Walker. Life on Earth, says Rupert Utley, with Richard Attenborough was, I think you mean David Attenborough, was the only good thing about the BBC. I used to like Richard Attenborough. I did do a gig once with Richard Attenborough, not David Attenborough. I say gig. It was a New Year's Eve celebration, and he was at the Michelin. It was a Michelin tire. It used to be a Michelin tire restaurant. Was it on the Fulham Road, somewhere like that? And it was a New Year's Eve thing, and Sir Richard Attenborough was of one of the clients there, and I can't remember if I was juggling or doing mime or something many years ago. He seemed a very nice chap. I didn't really actually get to speak to him, but I saw him. I was, as close as I am to you. And by you, I mean the camera that I'm looking at. Welcome to the journey, says, I saw the picture jump. Sorry about that. Sean James Cameron says, taking a break from harvesting pumpkins. Oh, yes, it must be getting up towards Halloween time. Although pumpkins, of course, you can eat without having to make them into Halloween things. Daily Walker says, and you're not needing fuel in your van under house arrest. That's true. I've saved money from that. That's very true. Englishman abroad. Which one, Davros? He had a few corkers. Oh, Davros says it's important to be opinionated, whilst it's equally important to be able to understand an opposite opinion and have friendly discussions with the opposing view. Then remember Brian Clough's quote. And you're right. People often accuse me of not listening to criticism and not being, or having a very thin skin. And in the comments, and I would argue there that sometimes when people are calling you names, that the skin you just don't want to deal with them. Hello, welcome to the stream. Hello. You will need to turn whatever it is you're viewing the show on and talk to me on your phone, because there is a delay in what you see.
Oh, right. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. You're very far away.
Because I believe it could well be my Alexa soundbar that's taken the call instead of my phone.
Oh, can you get nearer to your Alexa soundbar?
Yeah. Hold on a minute.
Okay. I didn't know an Alexa soundbar can take the phone call, but then I guess Alexas are listening all the time, so that shouldn't surprise me.
Well, it's good old technology, isn't it? Other better times.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yes, I'm Fabian Rance. I spoke to Richard Vobes quite a while ago in regards to an email I sent him, or along the lines of talking about the kind of interesting wood burning pellets that he was wanting to know about what is more economic than just standard logs. And I thought to myself, I'll send him some information regarding these kind of coffee.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Could you just remind me your name again?
It's Fabian.
Fabian.
Yes.
Brilliant. Just so because it was quite distant then. Yeah, I do remember that, Fabian. The coffee logs, and the supermarket near me was selling some reasonably cheaply, but when you look at the package of say 6 or 8 of those, and then you see a big metre square big bag of logs, one wonders whether you're getting value for money or whether it's a bit of a novelty for a very short time.
Yeah, I do completely agree with you. Sorry, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you much better now, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I've just taken you're off. I completely forgot that my phone was connected to my tiny box soundbar thing. So
Yeah.
I realised it wasn't my soundbar at all. It was my tiny little kind of portable box thing I've got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can hear you lovely. It sounds great.
Yeah, so I just kind of felt very, very, very drawn to your videos due to the fact that you actually spent some time at my childhood sailing place in Bosom.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
And the Le Bleu pub was when I was just such a youngster, and I remember the warmth of the chiseled, cobbled frontage of the church flint on the surface of the church has this flint that's embedded into the architecture. If you remember,
yeah, it is. I mean, it's a beautiful church down at Bosom.
it's absolutely delightful. And what makes it such a kind of invitingly sumptuous place is the fact that it's the exciting moments of just traveling through the very narrow lanes to get to Bosom in the first place, and it's just there's this sense of wanting this kind of a journey never to finish. It's got that kind of sensibility of there's the boat yard, there's the lawn overgrown, there's the chinking wind chimes of the masts hitting against themselves and going ching ching ching, and there's their lovely church itself, I believe.
Yes, I just quickly, as you're talking about it, it was nice to bring up a picture of Bosom. I'm just looking of Bosom Church, and
yes, my father was a bell ringer.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he did campanology, and he's actually someone who also has the same condition as I do, and which is Asperger's, and he's a bit of a narcissist, sociopathic, retired, schizoid of a character, but I do like him at the best of times. But I do find it quite extraordinary that that I've got the opportunity to finally talk to you, because I've been thinking of getting in contact with you, but you've been pretty hard to get in contact with, and I really have to thank you so much for putting your phone number on screen and to get to you today. It's just been a real joy talking to you.
Oh,
and,
right.
And your COVID is finishing on Thursday, I believe.
Yes, this is my penultimate day today. So tomorrow at midnight.
Oh, what a beautiful picture! Oh my God, sorry, I love that one.
Yeah, I just found that. Yeah, there's a slight delay, so I've just been putting these pictures up, and they filter through. Of Bosom, and that's obviously from the air with the tide in, and it's fascinating to know that people park their cars down on the seafront there, or on the not the seafront.
And forget the fact that the tide comes in.
Yeah, it is.
There's been many a time like that has happened.
Yeah, and then
I've seen it myself.
Have you? I've never actually seen it. I would love to see it. What I would love to see is the owner coming back, going, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" that would be hilarious, but obviously one doesn't wish that on anybody, but it is amusing that people do. And because why would people know? I mean, there are warnings up there, but
well, obviously, yes. I like the projection shelf style counter-levered window frame on the left-hand side of the slip road. If you look at it, it really is quite something.
I've moved away from that picture, so I'm not looking at that at the moment.
Do you remember the seafront? Remember the kind of a counter-levered section of the wonderful building where you've got the window where people can just sit down in their private location, and they're quite literally over the right over the seawall. So when the sea comes in, you've got the water lapping against the wall of the foundation of the buildings.
Yes,
it's an absolute delight. It really is.
And it's interesting, as you say, when you walk around the back of some of the houses, just at the back there, where they've got those boards up against their doors to stop the flooding from coming in.
Yes, and where you've got a picture right there, you've got the boathouse. Okay, now My dad's boat was moored to the side of that wall there, and also it was moored just also by where. Now you see it, that's cantilevered what I'm talking about right there.
Oh right. Oh okay. Okay.
Where the car parked?
What you're seeing is about a minute or so
Oh
since I did it,
right.
because
Okay.
there's a slight delay.
Cool.
But I've gone back to. It should come back in a minute. I've gone back to the jetty area.
Mm.
Is that the area you're talking about, where the jetty is and where the boats are, the big boathouse?
Yeah, because you got the intense smell of seaweed, and yes, you are right. It is incredibly slippery. In that were interviewing the gentleman. Oh God, how slippery that must have been for you.
Yeah, no,
you did very well in keeping your footing.
I
by the
did.
way.
Yeah,
You really did.
that was some time ago, but yes, you're quite right. That I nearly went head over heels.
Yes,
shall we
just
say.
a bit. But the gentleman you were interviewing,
Yes.
it certainly did that, and it was well documented as a place of danger, because hours later there's always going to be yet more water going over that slip road, so it's never ever going to
Not going to dry out, is it?
Never
No.
will dry out there.
No.
I wanted to ask you, do you know anything about the Huguenots when it was the Normans that came to that area of Boston, wasn't it? And you got the Bayard Tapestry associated with that area.
I don't really know. You see, this is where people think that I know far too much more than I really do know, and what my skill is really trying to find the people who can tell me the stuff rather than me know myself. Because my knowledge, especially, it's funny. You can research for something, a project or a video in my case, and you film it, and then you move on to something completely different, and all that knowledge is held in as if like in a temporary vault. And then it sort of slowly, unless you're working on that all the time, only smatterings of stuff stay. I mean, I know that there is the alleged daughter of, is it Canute in the...
Canute, yes,
yeah,
that's correct.
His daughter is there, supposedly.
Canute but it was Canute that left, I believe, Normandy, wasn't it? Or was it Brittany? Was it a Breton delivery that took place, or was it from Normandy where they left to make landfall at Bosom all those years ago?
You know more about it than I do. That's what I'm going to say. But no. Do you live around that area?
I used to live very far away from the area. My only reason I know it so well is that my father had a boat moored there.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you would visit and go out in the harbour there. How lovely is that? That's it must be lovely to go out in. I don't think I've ever been out on a boat in the harbour. That would make a lovely video.
It would have been marvellous if I still had Verity. Verity was the name of the boat, which is an indirect terminology of how amazing my email starts with Vista.
Ah, right.
So when I say Veritas, and Veritas is truth, isn't it? And Verity is the female truth sayer of the meaning of the word verity, as in veritas.
The little bit, is that Latin, veritas?
Yes, very much so. So there is a Latin connection with verity as well.
Dodger Bow, who's commenting in the comment box, says the great cafe on the front, they're always busy. I bet they are. Loads of people visit.
I wouldn't disagree with him.
No. I'm glad
I really wouldn't disagree with him, but I would have it be said that when you go to the Le Bleu, the pub,
yes,
known as the Blue Inn or something.
Yes.
When you got the low cut, sorry, it sounds so inappropriate language, but it truly is a low cut wall that is with the lane that is between the church and the area of the outside pub garden, where the road curves around to descend into the water to the side of the pub. Do you remember when you were walking around that area?
I remember vaguely where you mean. I dare say that just
Right.
for the purposes of clarity here, if I quickly, this is one of the things I love about doing this sort of thing, is that the tools we have available with things like Google
Yes.
Street View is that you can visit the place relatively quickly. Let's see if I can just take the audience.
Whilst you're trying to find it, I need to ask you seriously a really interesting question also, and that is, do you know of the farm outside of Boston that still sells their local produce plus cider and homemade fudge? Because that's where I used to buy. Well, I used to get the fudge. Dad would always get his cider, the smoky, the kind of a smoky, but I would call it smoky, but it's not smoky cider. But
I can't say I do actually.
no, you've got Boston Key there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh oh my God, that brings me memories. Jesus Christ, right there.
Yeah, well, this
Oh
is.
my God!
the-
Go down a bit more. No, go down to the steps. Go down to the steps right there. That's what I'm talking about. Left, stop.
I can't. Unfortunately, there is a delay between you talking to me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm actually
But-
now outside one of these pubs. Where am I? The Anchor.
Yeah.
The Anchor Blue.
The Anchor Blue. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there he is. There's the pub, the high street. Do you know what? What an absolute delight. And it's got the beer kegs, as always, there, which is so lovely. Oh my God.
I'm pleased
Well,
I've made somebody happy today in the
Oh my
show.
God. No, but the luxury of having a gentleman in your dear self who equally has passion for our great nation, to look at all the lovely architecture and everything English. It's beautiful to have a conversation where people can actually, be patently, blatantly patriot, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I couldn't agree with you more there. Listen, we've had a fairly long conversation. I don't want to bore everybody else, but Fabian, it's been a joy to talk to you, and I hope we can have another conversation soon.
Absolutely. May I ask, is it okay that if you could give me your personal number and via my email address, if I could type it to you, or do you?
If you can email me, we can take it from there. Is that okay?
Perfect. I'll do that.
Yeah, email richard@vobes.com.
Lovely. I'll do that.
Brilliant.
Please, really, it really has been a joy talking to you finally, and do enjoy the rest of your wonderful show. And I'm about to turn the volume up to catch up with you and see what on earth delights I've let myself into.
Yes, well, you can take the stream back and then listen to the conversation, which is always a jolly thing. Anyway, Fabian, look after yourself, and thanks very much for the call. Take care.
By the way, before you go, you must do the Cotswolds or Stroud, by the way.
Oh, yes, I have been to Stroud in the Cotswolds, but not on video. I did it on a corporate job, but it's lovely up there, definitely. There's an antiques. There's an antiques.
That's where I live.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yes.
You've got an antiques place up there that do antique
Yes.
market. I filmed in there for a radio station many times actually, but not for a while.
Look, I do actually have a connection with antiquity in my family. I can talk to you at a further later date. But obviously this afternoon, have a marvellous afternoon, and thank you ever so much for your call.
My pleasure. No, you called me actually, but never mind.
No. Your time.
Oh yeah, no problem.
But thank you ever so much, and lots to your channel, and speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye. There we go. That was Fabian calling from Stroud in Gloucestershire. I guess it is in the Cotswolds. That was absolutely marvellous. And there you heard a very passionate young man interested in Bosom, as we saw. And it was great to actually go and use a little bit of Google Street View and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed that. So should do more of this, really, that sort of thing. Go to places and get people to, should have done more of that in the lockdown. Talked about places that people are particularly interested in, and then go and use some of these these things. Unfortunately, these live shows don't generate a lot of income. Whereas the videos, they can put adverts either side. Bit of a shame, but hey-ho, it is what it is. Right, I'm going to wind this up because, again, I need to visit the WC. And we've been talking now, let's have a look, just over 2 hours, I imagine. We've had a nice conversation on all sorts of different things. Michael White says enjoyable, much better than LBC. Thank you very much for that. Adrian says, Richard, you have a Julia to kick unwanteds off. Yes, that's true. She is my moderator. And mind you, bear in mind that poor old Julia is looking after a 2-year-old who is very much hands-on. So bless Julia for finding any time to help out on this. Daily Walker says, working nights at the moment. Having you do live when you're locked up is great. Thank you so much, Daily Walker. I appreciate that. Mark's PKS says, enjoyed the stream tonight. Keep up the good work. You're very kind. Welcome to the journey says, so good to see you on a live stream, being down here in Australia. Very kind. Julian Paphicist, or whatever the surname says. I was close. I can't remember how I did it before now. Dodger Bow says, keep your opinions to yourself. Oh, fair enough. William Burgess, your arrest will soon be unrest. Yes, that's true. And Lynette Coates says, Richard, are you going to do any more walks from your viewers of their old schools? Well, I guess if they send their old school routes in, I could certainly consider it. We did have a good reaction to that one that I did before. James McIntyre says, thank you for the videos. Appreciate the love of churches. Maybe worth checking out the Great Churches Network. I'm probably unaware of that, actually. The wars on hang on, let's get this right. The Warsaron, is that how it's pronounced? Alexis and Siri are nothing more than glorified listening devices giving more data to big tech and the intelligence services. The data they gather is being used to advance AI. I don't have one. I was actually gifted one. I didn't plug it in. Not actually for that reason, but for the reason that I just thought it was so sloppy and so lazy that I can actually go and, I like manual things. I don't like things doing stuff for me. My son had one of these light bulbs fitted when he was in this room a year or so ago, and he would be in bed and tell Alexa, I think it was, or whichever one it was, to turn off and turn on the lights. And I just thought that is the sheer sum of laziness. Everything is switch off and onable here by switches in my house. Coming to the end of these comments, I'm sorry if I missed any of them. Lynette says, Richard, you have a new idea for a vlog, talking to a viewer and bringing up via Google Street View on their local village. Brilliant. Why not? That would be interesting, would it not? More of. Welcome to the journey, Fabian. What a wonderful call. Thank you, Fabian. It was lovely to talk to you. Michael White says, keep on doing what you're doing. It's all great stuff. I appreciate that, Michael. I appreciate everybody for all your comments. It's been very nice. You've helped me get through one of these interminable lockdown days where I do too much navel gazing and what have you. People have been so kind and brilliant, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for this. I probably won't do one of these tomorrow. I'm doing a Vobes show tonight, which will be a similar thing, but on a channel called The Vobes Show. On YouTube, The Vobes Show, if you're interested, 8 o'clock UK time. But that's it for this one. Thank you very much. I'm going to go and get some lunch. I think that would be nice, and another cup of tea would be lovely. Excuse me. So thank you very much for all the phone calls. Thank you for all of that. Look after yourselves. And I don't have anything special to sign off with. There's no jingles or anything for the Bald Explorer. So the screen will go black and everything will go silent. But that is the way I will finish this stream. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. And I appreciate all your wonderful comments. Till next time. Bye-bye.